I've just traveled to the Ivory Coast.
Oh,
spent 5 days in the Ivory Coast. Beautiful country. I absolutely love it.
Abidjan.
Abidjan is where I was based for the 5 days. It's also where the Africa Cup of Nations draw took place. I was there with Drogba, Sadio Mane. Who else was there? Yaya Toure was there.
El Hadji
Diouf was there. Hakimi was there.
Nice.
Former Chelsea boy, Nigerian.
John
Obi Mikel was there. But that wasn't the takeaway for me. Here's the takeaway. This is my unfiltered, unadulterated. You know what? Let me take a break. When we come back, I'll tell you. I want to tell you something about South Africans and Dr. Patrice Motsepe. I want to tell you about those two things. This is going to be, and you can quote me on this.
Yeah.
You can point fingers at me. You can take me on this, but this is going to be my feeling on it. South Africans and Dr. Patrice Motsepe. But also, we're going to come back. What else do we have to talk about? Because we didn't do this on a Monday. We're doing it on a Tuesday. You're here. Zakhele Lepasa and Hugo Bruce.
Yeah, the coach has set the record straight. There's actually, hopefully Timmy has got it, but there's also a medical report from the Bafana Bafana team doctor explaining why Zakhele Lepasa did not travel to Ivory Coast with the team, as well as our reporter Velile Mnyandu did have a conversation with Coach Hugo earlier today.
Velile Mnyandu is out in the Ivory Coast in Abidjan. He's going to be there at the stadium when South Africa take on Ivory Coast. Bafana Bafana are playing tonight, 9 o'clock. Don't say you didn't know. Don't say, hey, where we're supposed to find out. I'm telling you now.
I'm sure by now the stadium is packed already.
Yeah, by now the stadium is packed. The match is at 9 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock now. 3 hours to go. The stadium must be packed. We're going to cross through and speak to Velile Mnyandu at the stadium. And you can watch the match on SABC Sport. I'm going to be crossing over to do that as well immediately when we're done here. Let's take a break. When we come back, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, president of the Confederation ou African Football. We'll talk about it. The Springbok reactions were important on the Monday, so we decided, no, let's have this rather on a Tuesday. Muzzle Amalef is with me. Muzzle.
You said you had something on your chest about Dr. Patrice Motsepe.
Having traveled, 9 hours away from South Africa to the west coast of Africa in Abidjan in the Ivory Coast, being around presidents of different FAs, including the president of the Saudi FA, president of the Cameroon FA, Ivory Coast, South Africa even, and Dr. Denis Jordan. I think that we as South Africans have missed an opportunity to, and I think it's got a lot to do with the feelings of what's happening here in South Africa with Mamelodi Sundowns, etc. But what we've missed is an opportunity to be loud, boastfully proud, and sing the praises of Dr. Patrice Motsepe from the highest mountain, as far as being the president of the Confederation of African Football is concerned. Andile, why? Well, here it is. Pretty simple. Number one, for the very first time in history, we have our man, a South African, at the helm of the biggest post in African football. Makes promises at the beginning of his tenure, which most of have been achieved.
Yeah.
Sponsorship and revenue at CAF from where he found it has gone up. All the sponsors that had left have come back. Visa had left. Puma had left. They've come back now during the tenure of Dr. Patrice Motsepe.
And on that sponsorship note, there was actually a social media post from Lux September, who's also himself doing great things.
As another South African.
Another South African. In the last 13 days, the sponsorship, the turnaround strategy by Dr. Patrice Motsepe, as you said, Visa have come back, Puma as a technical partner, Techno Mobile, Asponic, Celeste, you excuse me for the pronunciation if I get it wrong, Poterio, countless others. And there's on the horizon just this weekend, upcoming weekend, the African Football League as well, which has also announced several sponsorship and partners.
So here we are. You've got a South African at the helm of this big post, all the way in the north to the tip of Africa. Well, not the north, but the north of Africa.
Yeah.
Based in Egypt, running the biggest confederation of football on this continent and one of the biggest in the world.
Yeah.
He's delivered. He's now going to be the man at the head of the administration that brings you the biggest Africa Cup of Nations in a long time, the most lucrative one in a long time. the African Football League, however it is you feel about it being the cousin of the failed Super League in Europe, and it's all good, you can feel that. The Europeans couldn't bring it to light. He had to cross and, lakes filled with crocodiles and hippos in order to make it happen. But here it is happening in Africa, where nowhere else it could happen.
75 million rands prize money.
And what does he say? In his speech, I was in the room sitting there as one of the journalists. He says that the reason I'm doing this is because days when sponsors think they can give $1 million to Africans is over. Days when that money does not go back to the pockets of footballers themselves to feed their families and run their lives is over. The money must go back to the footballers.
Sure.
These are the words of Dr. Patrice Motsepe to every African journalist who was present in that room. And there must have been 20, 30 of us from all over Africa, including some that have traveled from Europe as well as the Middle East.
Yeah.
Why is it that in this country, we are not having this man on every platform of sport and talking about the amazing work that he does so that they know that this man has got support from home? Because the ones before him, we knew where their support was coming from. It was loudly so. So yeah, for those that every day ask questions of CAF, for every day question the leadership of Patrice in CAF, I'm not talking about Sundowns. I don't care for Sundowns right now in this conversation.
Do you not think it's because, well, part of the reason is here at home, he kind of steps back a little bit and allows the Motsepe Foundation to have the shine because of the work that they're doing for ABC Motsepe League, and as we know, last year announced as the sponsors of the second tier in South African football when Glad Africa, breached the contract. Yeah.
Once again, stepping up for football.
Yeah.
But I don't even mind all of that in South Africa, and it's okay.
Yeah.
We can feel how we feel here because we have teams we support here that we're passionate about, and and we're allowed to take Sundowns on, and whoever it is that owns Sundowns head on. It's okay. I don't mind that. As long as we do it for Chiefs, we do it for Pirates, we do it for Royal AM, we do it for Amazulu. That's okay. But the support at continental level from South Africa, when that man, for instance, said, PSL teams, I need you, we want to do this AFL thing, it should have been, which ones do you need to make this a success? How can we help?
No questions asked.
We can talk about it, though. I'm more than willing to hear you out. That's the mountain I'm going to die on, though. 086-000-2160. That's the call line. WhatsApp on 060-552-7303. Veli Mnyandu is all the way in Abidjan. There's a game tonight. South Africa is taking on the Ivory Coast. And the backdrop of this game is, one, a lot of injuries, a lot of just unhappiness and unpleasantries coming out of camp, but we're not sure if those are within camp. But they're definitely coming out of camp. We're not sure what's happening in the actual camp, but from what we're hearing, it's a lot of this and a lot of that. Over and above that as well, there's the matter of monies being paid to players. I spoke to Dr. Denis Jordan in a meeting that we had in our attempts to have the truce of Abidjan. And he says, no, he doesn't understand why players aren't paid. He made a call to say, hey, I called this morning and didn't say pay the players. It's obviously not that simple because it still went on for days after that. Your
conversation was prior to the Eswatini match.
It was prior to the Eswatini match.
Because I had that interview with Coach Hugo on the eve of the Eswatini match, which would have been on Thursday afternoon, where he confirmed that they were still at loggerheads with regards to
the monies.
To the monies. And I'm not making an excuse for the players, but that shoddy performance against Eswatini on Friday night.
But pay me my money, whether I perform well or not. It's not part of the contract.
Yeah.
It's not part of the contract to say there'll be a performance. I mean, that's performance bonuses. That's something else. But as far as paying me my basic, paying me my money as per agreement, give them their money.
And that's what I'm saying. The fact that, one, you could have had a situation where the players actually boycott the match, like it was the case when we played Namibia and DRC.
Like it was the case with Banyana.
Like it was the case. In fact, Banyana went ahead with it.
Yeah.
The first team squad that traveled to the World Cup did not play that game. Safa had to scramble together a team of young players from the Hollywood Super League, but Bafana did show up for Namibia, DRC, Congo, Eswatini, and
pay
Abidjan.
The players their money. Let's go to Abidjan now in the Ivory Coast. My colleague is there. I left plenty in the Ivory Coast. I left my heart in the Ivory Coast. Velile, maybe you'll come back with it. Mnyandu.
Bonjour, bonsoir.
Bonjour, monsieur. Ça va?
Comment ça va bien?
Yeah.
Really, man, I left lots in the Ivory Coast. I hope we're at least this year, man. How's it going in the Ivory Coast? When I left you a couple of days ago, the weather was great. It was rainy every now and then, but always warm, humidity. So it looked like conducive for football. The Ivorians were about to play a match. I think they were playing Morocco. I can imagine it was a packed stadium. There's just an energy about football right now. Talk to me about what's happened since then.
Well, the past few days, I can say that it's been raining, especially in the past 2 days. Bafana, as they were also about to finish their training session yesterday, it poured down because since it was match day -1, they only had Bafana training at the match venue because the hosts would have had the experience of, because you'll recall that this past weekend, the Felix Houphouët-Boigny Stadium was being reopened ever since it was renovated. So yesterday, Cote d'Ivoire was training at its own pace. But I can already tell you that we are on our way to the stadium. In fact, around the stadium precinct, just driving there, the traffic here around the
traffic, I must tell you guys, listen,
crazy.
The traffic in Abidjan all day long is insane. Yeah. What normally would take you 5 to 10 minutes will take you an hour to 2 hours. Yep. So it's 6 o'clock right now, which means it's 4 o'clock where Uvelile is. The kickoff is in about 3 hours. You need to leave now.
You better be on your way.
In fact, I'm around. I'm not far from the stadium. I'm supposed to be about 5 kilometers from the stadium, but we move. Yesterday at some stage the car was standstill in traffic for 10 minutes. Yeah. That's how bad it is here. But already you can see the orange jerseys of the Elephants. But one thing that I think it has really interested me is also how the local media they still hold Bafana Bafana high up there, and here you can also tell with Mazi that we are still living on the glory of the team of the mid-90s, the late 90s and early 2000s, because they talk about the John Shoes Mushwewus, they talk about the Filma Singers, they talk about the Benny McCarthy's, the Stephen Pinas, they talk about the Quentin Fortune.
There's one name you're missing there, Chief. Come on, do the right thing. There's one name there. Come on.
Umtoki.
Dr. Kumar, of course.
Yeah, no. That's the team. That's the team they talk about. And actually yesterday in the pre-match day -1 presser, one of the questions that was asked to Lebo Motsepe was around the giant killing act of this Bafana Bafana team, how we knocked out Egypt at home, how we recently beat Morocco as well. Because yes, and the media here doesn't understand why we would be having this struggling, because we have this kind of performances. So we are looking forward to an exciting game tonight.
Talk to me about, and I saw this, I think it's got a lot to do with his abilities to speak French, but Lebo Motsepe seems to be a hit in Abidjan. He seems to be a person that many know who he is. Out of the current squad, how many are known on the continent?
It's Lebo Motsepe. He's the star boy of this team. We call him a big player. Just say, when he's around, there's a big player. Because whether he's at the hotel, photo.
Yeah, I was asked about Lebo Motsepe when I was there. The two players that I was asked about were Dr. Kumalo and Lebo Motsepe. And, at some point I wondered, but then I remembered that he's a French-speaking who plays his football, in France, a French country in France, in a French-speaking country. So, the links between the Ivorians and the French are very close, so they'd be very well aware of that league there. So Lebo Motsepe is the big star boy that is known in the squad. That's the guy that they know. They don't even, I asked about Themba Zwane, who would have thought because of his exploits with Mamelodi Sundowns in the Champions League they would know him, but it was all about Lebo Motsepe. We're getting different things when Avelile that are coming out of camp. You were able to speak to Hugo Bruce. You were able to see Bafana Bafana at camp. There's monies that need to be paid. There's the Zakhele Lepasa story. There's just, if you're sitting in South Africa, it sounds like it sounds like things aren't right there. It sounds like there's just a mess going on at the moment. From your experience being there, speaking to everybody, seeing the players, what are you getting?
Yeah, actually, I spoke to one of the senior players 2 days ago around this issue, and obviously they will want to go on record about it. But and one of the things that I was really looking to get out of him was their performance on Friday. If did it really have to do with all of this? And he vehemently denied that their performance maybe would have been influenced by this. And when one of his words was that we have been playing without being paid for almost a whole year, from playing against Liberia. Against, he said even the qualifiers, as he's saying, against Morocco, we were not paid. He says now, in fact, he said to me, the only thing that is driving us now is that we want to represent our country. We can see the AFCON is coming. That's where we want to go, you know. And then also he was talking about the World Cup qualifiers next month.
Please do note that William Nyandu, who we're speaking to live in the Ivory Coast, is in transit. He's on his way to the stadium, so he would be in a vehicle with other journalists on his way there. So do excuse the quality of that. You can hear the bells from and the hooters from the other cars in and around him as well. I'm sure he's crossing over the many rivers and dams on the way to the stadium. But lastly, William, before we ruin a good conversation with bad network and then just people around you, Dr. Denis Jordan is there as well. Have you had an opportunity to talk to him firstly?
Yeah, actually, we were also at the team hotel earlier today. We had a brief chat also off the record today, and I also understand that the issue of the bonuses is getting some attention. In fact, I understand that even the payments that are owed to them now, they would receive them by the end of the month, which will be before their next camp. You know,
do we know how much is owed
next month? I think they are being owed the previous camp, so it would be for the win. Remember, they get 16,000 for the win, and then they get 30,000 for a draw. So that whole amount will be for the past two matches which they played in the last camp. Then it would also mean now you also have to factor in this camp, provide depending on what would be their results today. But also there's a big picture. The AFCON is coming. And I think now they want to bundle that into one.
Do the maths for us here. How much do you think it is? Because hey, this maths it's not mathsing right now. How much is owed to Bafana players? Is it 2, 4, 500,000, 600,000, just under $1 million,
sounds
over
like
$1 million?
Sounds like a lot.
We're talking about calculator for month. We're talking about 23 players who are owed 60,000. Okay, let's just say
per player. How much are they owed?
23 players, 90,000 per player.
Oh, so it's not even that much money. From a federation point of view, it's not that much money.
Yeah,
I thought it was in the hundreds of thousands.
But if they say they've been playing without getting paid almost
a year. But also, you're talking about just the bonuses, Velile.
Yeah.
There's camp fees as well. There's call-up fees. There's all sorts of other fees that should be
factored in.
Yeah, I think there's allowance.
Yeah.
So they don't have what we call an appearance fee. They just have an allowance, and then they've got a bonus per match. You know, so the allowance is the one that, the allowance is the one that they get when they are in camp. But I think what we're talking about here are these bonuses, and because somebody was asking me, why are we calling them bonuses? We're calling them bonuses because if you don't win, you don't get anything. In fact, if you lose, you don't get anything. You only get paid for a draw and a win. Really? And when it comes to the AFCON, it becomes a different case altogether.
We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Vidli. Good luck and enjoy the stadium. Can't wait to see the amazing pictures.
Okay, cool, man.
He's out of here. Vidli Nyandu, SABC's very own, out in Abidjan. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get into those stories. But in particular, the African Football League. What is the African Football League? What does it mean for Sundowns? They've got a match against TS Galaxy tomorrow. All the players
-7 Bafana players.
All the Bafana players are out of there. Temba Zwane is not there. Mvala's not there. Ronald Williams is not there. Tebogo Mokoena's not there. Mudiba's not there. Who else? I'm missing two. I'm missing two there.
You did mention
Mudau is not there. And then there's one more.
Grand Kekan
is not there. Those 7 players unavailable for Sundowns as they take on TS Galaxy. I look at who's left in the country and I think to myself, is this even an issue for Sundowns? I don't think so. We'll get into it. Welcome to it. It's 18:37. There's currently a game underway. South Africa, the Proteas in the cricket, taking on the Netherlands. The score at the moment is 145-7. South Africa struggling at the moment. Maharaj is the new man at the crease there. He's yet to score. Cote with 20. The last wicket was Miller, who went for 43 after 52 balls. South Africa need 101 from 70 balls. It's not the amount of runs and balls we need. It's the manpower that we're quickly running out of. 145-7. It'll be a miracle if South Africa is able to win this against the Netherlands. Against the Netherlands. We've got England on Saturday. We've got England on Saturday, both in the rugby and in the cricket.
The English want revenge.
From one colonizer to the other. Let's get into AFL. What is AFL? The African Football League, formerly known as the Super League. Changed its name because it didn't want to sound too much like what the Europeans were trying to do.
Of course.
Let's hear from the president first, and then I'll go into you, Mazol.
You ask about Mamelodi Sundowns. My job is to every single football club and every single nation on the African continent, and specifically in relation to South Africa. Because the test was ranking. The test was taking the CAF and FIFA ratings, the ranking. Where do you qualify? At what level are you based on your successes, your victories, and how many times you've been in the Champions League and have won the Champions League?
So there you have it. He speaks about the rankings, and that was in particular conversation about Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates. He says the reason they're not here is because it's rankings. How often are you in the Champions League? How far do you go in the Champions League? What is your ranking at CAF at the moment? So with that, Timmy, what are you pointing at? You keep pointing. Oh, okay. Play it then.
If I had things the way I wanted them, there were 3 clubs from South Africa that qualified. It was Kaizer Chiefs,
par exemple.
Orlando Pirates. And Mamelodi Sundowns.
Également Mamelodi Sundowns.
But because of the initial, or what we call the inaugural African Football League, based on the performance of those clubs and the rankings they get from CAF, there's only one that qualifies.
And that makes sense because remember the AFL, as it's called now, the initial plan was to have 24 teams. And all these clubs, from my knowledge, with the exception of Orlando Pirates maybe, there were conversations because, as you remember, Jessica Motaung had been at the launch out in, I think it was in Tanzania. And subsequent to that, she was part of also, evident growth from a CAF point of view as far as women's football is concerned. But when they scaled it down to 8 teams, and then obviously the rankings kicked in, and you only have Africa's super teams that would then make the 8. But obviously, if you spread it, it casts the net wider. So the criteria debate really did not make sense for me from the beginning. So I'm glad it happened at the time that the CAF president would have been present at the Africa Cup of Nations draw to address these issues, among others, because of the AFL kicking off this weekend. And obviously, finally here at home, the BOG did have a U-turn and decide to give Sundowns the green light to participate. But they launched the jersey. So, come hell or high water, it looks like they were going to play either way because Puma launched the jersey specifically for the AFL. But
what changes the PSL Board of Governors to decide that we're going to allow Sundowns to play? We're going to move and shake fixtures around to give them the ability to play in both tournaments. I mean, you've got 3 things happening at Sundowns at the moment. You've got players out at Bafana. You've got players playing PSL. You've got players that must go and play the AFL.
Yeah.
All in the space of a week. 3 tournaments, 3 games, same group of players.
I think also the one that's playing tomorrow, maybe kudos to TX Galaxy, if you like, for being clever and choosing that specific date, because they knew 7 Bafana players would be out of the country.
Okay, so TS said, okay, fine, we'll play it, but at a date of our choosing, and they chose this day.
It looks like it, because
Okay.
I would assume Sundowns would have pushed for a different date, knowing that they have 7 Bafana players unavailable, including an injury list that from the last time that they played Orlando Pirates in the MTN 8 Cup final, Tapelo Morena was unavailable, Sipho Mbule, Lisibanku, Lucas Ribeiro, Batusi Obas, Abubakar Nasir were all unavailable. We haven't had an update yet, injury update yet.
So possibilities is the 7 players at Bafana plus some of these players out of Sundowns.
Out of Sundowns. So, one would say scraping the bottom of the barrel, but, Sundowns, people say Sundowns have depth. They've signed all these players.
Oh, this is going to be a true test.
Yeah, this is a true test, because yes, it's one thing to have depth, but it's another to have, 10 plus players unavailable who could make a difference. Yes, you have 7 Bafana players unavailable, but if you had, the bulk of those on the injury list also available, then you'd speak about depth. But when those who are injured are also unavailable for selection, then TX Galaxy, as I say, in my opinion, I think they were clever in their choice of fixtures, because they could have said, no, let's play the game midweek after the AFL for the culling knockout competition to allow Sundowns more time. Because in fact, if you go to the rules, when a team has more than 3 players in the national team, the fixture shouldn't go ahead. That's in the SAFA constitution. That's usually that's how it works. But because of the circumstances at the moment, I suppose Sundowns can't have their cake and eat it, because if you are asking for permission also to play in the AFL and you are negotiating with clubs to move fixtures, and you can't then say no, but give us that one, just play. So tomorrow night the Carling Cup knockout kicks off with Sundowns against TX Galaxy, minus give or take 10 plus players for Coach Rulani to unavailable for selection.
Not many teams can do a 10 plus players minus.
No.
Actually, top of mind now, I can't think of one.
I can't think of one.
I can't think of one.
Yeah, I can't think of one.
What else do you have? Is that it?
That's it. I mean, I think Velile also touched on a lot of the stuff that was brewing in terms of our discussion points.
Because I did mention it and Velile almost dismissed it, and I think you did too.
Yeah.
But for context's sake, what was the story with Hugo Bruce and Zakhele Lepasa?
So there was a story over the weekend that claimed that Zakhele Lepasa was withdrawn without any clear reasons as to why. And then when Bafana landed in Abidjan, SAFA or Bafana media officer Romy Titus then sent out an audio clip speaking to the Bafana doctor, clarifying, and the doctor says Zakhele Lepasa had a foot injury which got worse after he came off the bench to play against Eswatini, and just before they left for Abidjan, it looked like he'd aggravated it from playing the game on Friday night, and the decision was that he should go for a scan to just check whether, how serious it is, and to have some scans and make sure that he's then available for club football subsequent to that, because also Orlando Pirates do have a game against Cape Town Spurs in the opening round of the culling knockout on Friday.
Okay, taking your calls on everything that you've heard being discussed here at 086-000-2160. Also your WhatsApps on 060-552-7303. Taking a break. When we come back with your calls, your thoughts. There is a game currently underway. South Africa not doing so well. Oh, is that another wicket? There could just be another wicket there. Let's let it play out and see.
Is that wicket number 8?
It could be wicket number 8. I'm not sure if we're just seeing slow-mos of wicket number 7, but it looks like it's a wicket number 8, which would almost certainly make sure that South Africa, but that looks like Miller there. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
no, it is.
Wicket number 8.
It's Cote there. He's out. So it's 148 for 8 for South Africa. Unbelievable, really. Unbelievable for South Africa at the moment that this is where we are. Rabada has just stepped in. I mean, as handy as he is, he's not a
he's not going to give us the runs we need.
The runs that we need there. So I think we're just waiting for the fat lady to come out now and do her thing. Maharaj sitting on 4 runs, very new to the crease, both of them. 152 for 8. We need 94 runs from 57 with 2 tail enders at the moment. middle order decapitulated. Yeah, it's almost done.
And I remember you speaking to the Proteas coach before the tournament, and we were so hopeful.
I was hopeful.
I'm saying we were so hopeful as a nation. No,
you guys, okay, sharp.
You were not hopeful.
No.
Okay.
Me, I know a guy called Ansi Kronyemi. I've got no reasons to be hopeful. Let's take a break.
Metro FM. Yo, it's where you want to be. All right, here we go. Call Metro FM now on 0860 002160. Drop us a voice note on 060-552-7303. Waking up, I'm too turned up.
Exe Andile, le para laga. Mtiareng hadim mtia, le para. Exe Mazola, ora mboswaga. Mazola, kopolo butsisa ne. Chiefs le Pirate. Direnga dinamba mang. Re nyago yitsi mo. Re tlhamolelenga di-ranking tseo. It's the first time we go ka tsona.
I must give him facts. I don't have the facts right now, but I must give him facts and go.
But I know it's they ranked outside of the top 10.
Yeah, not enough. Obviously, not enough to make African Football League. Yeah.
Mazola Lipara.
Zulunga.
This is difficult to get in.
Ask him.
The show is growing. Keep easy. But on the case of Sundowns Chess Galaxy, I mean, I think it's unfair. But I think it's unfair to them. I mean,
to who?
With other players, we national team, other players injured. I mean, it's even if you have depth, but you cannot play players who are not used to playing. Then we overcome with Sanjay Cup game. It's not fair to them. I mean, come on, guys, it's not fair to them. When you final, man.
But it's their own doing.
Yeah, and Coach Rulani won't agree with those sentiments that players who are he doesn't like calling players fringe players. So he, as far as he's concerned, they must all go out there and get the job done, really. But it is what it is. You know, you want to play in the AFL. You negotiate with clubs to move fixtures, and this is the hand that they've been dealt. It is what it is. Mamelodi Sundowns must play tomorrow night so that they can also be able to participate in the AFL on Saturday.
Godfrey Lunga Andile taking your calls next. If you want to upawule now with your own, it's 086-0002160. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let's face it, nothing brings a nation together like sport. The box will be the topic of conversation for the rest of the week, and rightfully so. And another reminder that Betway's risk-free bet is still on the table. Place any bet for the box to win the World Cup and get your money back. And if they don't, it's simple, easy, and effective. You won't want to forget Betway's Top Up Tuesday, where you get extra just for topping up today. All this and more only with Betway. It's that simple, guys. All you need to do is make sure that you place a bet for the box, any bet, to win the World Cup and get your money back if they don't.
All right, here we go. Call Metro FM now on 0860 002160. Drop us a voice note on 060-552-7303. Waking up, I'm too turned up.
I'm watching the game with one eye and trying to take the calls with one eye. Let's go to Pretoria. Speaking about the AFL is Godfrey. Oh, Godfrey's gone there. Sorry, Godfrey, about that one. Let's go to Lunga out in Roodepoort. Lunga.
Good day.
Hey, man.
How's that?
No, man, always good.
Good. Team ungathi namhlanje akekho ukuthi sikhulume ngani, but I'll go for
Which one do you want to talk about?
I'll go for Sundowns and Chess Galaxy tomorrow. Chess Galaxy must just take the opportunity. The Sundowns is without 7 key players. And on the other hand, Sundowns must play according to PSL schedule because they opted to play in the AFL. So nothing more, nothing less. Thank you so much.
100%. I agree with you.
Yeah, and this is a compromise on the league side, obviously, because remember the initial meeting with the Board of Governors was that Mamelodi Sundowns would not, they voted that Mamelodi Sundowns should not participate in this competition. And then 2-3 weeks later, a U-turn. So Sundowns must play. They've got what they've asked for. So they must, like I said, they must, it's the hand that they've been dealt.
And here's another thing, Lunga. The AFL games, African Football League games, are going to be live on the SABC.
Yep.
So you're going to be able to watch every single one of them, not just the Sundowns games. You can watch the African Football League, every single one. I think it's 18 games all in all. You can watch every one of them on the SABC.
That's so nice because the rep will have a content. Mr. The content is back.
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back.
It's out of here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Let's go to Cape Town. Andile is in Cape Town.
Otherwise.
Hey, ma.
Otherwise, good night.
No, otherwise.
So I nathi indima kaDr Motsepe and the support angayifumaniyo as much as it deserves for one from South Africans. It comes from way when he was a Sundowns leader, because of Sundowns has created a space where they created a charity club that they just need the cups, then the money for the players. The players always go for where the money is. And after that, they have a rule that you cannot play with Sundowns if you are on loan. That alone has created another dent. So now it's become something that it created dent to South African football, because the way they were operating or they are operating in PSL, it's a new way. Maybe we're going to adapt to it, but if ever other team cannot compete with Sundowns when it comes to
so you're saying the success of Dr. Patrice Motsepe on the continent as president, I mean, this is the highest CAF has been in a very long time. You're saying South Africans don't want to support that because they're mad that Sundowns is winning trophies?
They are mad because now in South Africa, no one can compete with Sundowns when it comes to marketing. Now the Sundowns own every player that is good, and others they can't keep up. That's where now the dent is going.
But Maa, do you understand that listening to yourself now and listening to you myself, do you understand how flawed that sort of thinking is and how narrow that sort of thinking is?
You know, us as South Africans, we are so very, very fragile. If there's something happening, we are moving to the wrong direction as soon as we get to that, which is wrong. I'm not the part of the people, but that is how I see things happen.
I hear you. No, thank you so much, Andile. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. Now, let's go to Bonginkosi. He's out in Dobsonville. He wants to speak about Patrice Motsepe. I did my monologue at the beginning, and I told you my feelings and my thoughts on Dr. Patrice Motsepe and his leadership at CAF and how I feel about South Africans supporting him. Bonginkosi, what do you have to say? I know, easy, man.
Sure, Bongo.
Because yazi ingxaki ibhola lapha eSouth Africa inepolitiki, that's a problem. Uyabona, asikwazi thina into ngokusenhle sincome ngelo xesha. Umuntu simnika credit xa seshonile. Uyabona. If uyajonga igol ka bathi ngibani ugoalkeeper leBaroko lo uMasuluke. That goal was nominated kwiFIFA. Kodwa thina apha ekhaya zange sibone ukuthi because into igol elinjalo inqabile ngoba najonga ibhola ngiqala ubona igol enjana mina.
But Bongosi, it's not just that. 2 of Hlompo Kekana's goals were nominated ku Puskas, but those goals didn't win the goal of the season. You tell me.
Yilento nditsho iproblem thina ibhola zijonga ngepolitiki asithethi ngqo into enyani ingxaki yethu sithetha umuntu xa ngasekho sithethe ngemisebenzi yakuba uPatrice Motsepe bemhlubanibane bemhle xa engasekho ngolo xeshelo ngoba saphilayo sijonga ngenye indlela sijonga eqaleni asijonge le ndlela uba sithethe uba inyani kweliphi icala.
Bongosi, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man. Your sentiments, I can echo them, and I do. Let's go to Zola. Zola's out in Cape Town. Zola wants to speak about Chiefs, Pirates, and the AFL.
Hi, ma.
Hey.
I'm not ngicabanga ukuthi lento ye-Chiefs ne-Pirates zingadlali kwi-NFL into e-grand because i-Chiefs ne-Sundowns, they must take the South African League seriously first. They must win this one and not play like badlala bomvela la. They must win this one and qualify the right way because badlale pha the Chiefs support bazayodlala pha bazosihlaza bazotyiwa kumatch yokuqala wasiyisa ukuthi bayotyiwa li i-right i-Sundowns mayisikismele i-Chiefs ne-Sundowns kungcono xa badeserve nokudlala le kuPatrice Motsepe League because they can't play action.
Well, Zola has a point in the sense that obviously Sundowns have qualified for the group stages of the Champions League 9 seasons in a row.
Yeah.
You know, so that pulls up your, and in that 9 seasons they've won it once as well and reached the semis twice, if memory serves. So you know he's got a point about the participation to be able to actually get the rankings up. So it starts here at home, because that's win the league.
Earn it, Peter.
Earn it, yeah.
Peter's out in Brins wants to speak about the AFL as well. Peter, talk to me, Peter.
Yeah, but this thing of Sundowns, I think the management, they've got their own reason to agree to play. But however, Andile, the only problem that I can talk about is the fatigue, you know. And then remember the fatigue when you go to play in Africa. The traveling is not good, because you don't leave South Africa and go to Cameroon straight. You have to go somewhere, then you come back.
Peter, I can tell you from experience, I traveled to Ivory Coast this past week. Yeah. I had to go to Kenya and then go to Ivory Coast. Coming back, I think I have to go via Congo somewhere, then come back. It's a 9-10 hour flight. Yeah. You come back in Yaos Dumbile, you're tired. I completely concur. You're not feeling, you're saying that the club needs to feel for its people, right? The players, that is.
Yeah, because if the coach can't make a rotation, you can't play, because each and every game, it's important for them to win. And you can't win this game, and then the next game you change 10 players. It's not like that.
Peter, is Zulu City ozenzile agakhalelo.
Yeah.
Peter. Let's go to Kabelo.
Yeah, and I've never heard a Sundowns coach complain about. I mean, it's a factor, but they are built for it.
There we go. Kabelo is out in Pretoria. It's been a while, Oga.
No, they're around.
He's been watching too much rugby now.
Yeah, he's watching rugby, this man. I'm glad we got you into rugby there, Kabelo.
I'm everywhere. In fact, I wanted to open a club here for the boys to start rugby, because I've learned so much. Within these few days that I can be number one player of my If they want a player, I can go anywhere.
Well, I'm glad Rugby Tuesday is done well.
I can run. My brother, I wanted to say Sundowns. They have 15 squads. So the tiredness is not there. They can't be tired. You see, when you talk about Cape Chiefs and Pirates, we are local as lekker. We are not ready to go in. Otherwise, if we go abroad, they are going to people will start going to laugh at us. So we are local as we must prove ourselves here. We can talk and say, Mr. Motsepe gets money, they can get any player they want, they are using it. No. Sundowns is playing better because they have Chinese. They have Chinese, they have Indian, they have Korea, they have Brazil.
They have Chinese.
You don't know, is it Japan or Chinese? Because Digital and Bruce Lee is one person.
Who's Chinese there?
You don't know that short guy. Is it Chinese or Japan or?
Allende.
I don't know. The short guy, you know my brother.
Marcelo Allende. That's a short guy.
Brother, if you see Jiggy China, you see Bruce Lee, it's one person. It's one person. So they have everybody. So let them go participate there. When they come back, they are tired. Then we can finish the league. That's it.
He's out of here. It's 4 after the hour 7. Absolute pleasure having Mazolo Mule for the best journalist when it comes to all things football in this country. Tell them I said so. At Super Journal. Follow him on Twitter. I saw he got the blue tick there, so I think he's trying to make money. So follow him and retweet. I got to get out of here. Thank you so much. Yeah, there you go. He's making money, this man. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. I'm got to get out of here. And I appreciate you every single time for tuning in and making this the show that it is. It's not because we're so great, but it's because you give us the opportunity to, and we appreciate that. Live game, SABC Sport this evening. Bafana Bafana taking on Cote d'Ivoire. I got to get out of here. From all of us here, Pella. And so me.